Good evening once again. My name is Ms. Ziba Teagle. I teach English and Social Science, and I'm here today to walk you through the bridge course for Standard 8. Now, for those of you who have already engaged with maybe through the sessions, maybe as resource people, or maybe just as teachers teaching it in your respective schools, you will see that the NEP 2020 is a step forward. The one thing that it's trying to do is move away from rote learning, memorization, and move towards experiential learning and learning that happens at a holistic level. Okay, you will have already experienced that NEP requires us to be less of teachers who stand in the front of the class and talk, and be more of facilitators who go out there and enable and help get the work done. So keeping that in mind, we move into this small section, this very short session, wherein all we will do is walk through the forthcoming bridge course, which you and I have to go in our respective schools. So at the onset, let me tell you that GSCERT understands that many of us have limitations in terms of time, restrictions in terms of space. That is why while we begin only, I'd like to put forth that we are expected to do as much as we can. Because even in the previous sessions, many teachers had queries about the time factor, considering all the other duties that we have. So given that, what is expected of us is how much we can do. As much as we can do, let us try to do, because that's the only thing that we have in our hands. So as much of time as is available, we shall use it according to the timetables that are set by our respective heads and the time allotments that are given to us. As the students move into grade 8, if you see the bridge course for Standard 8 is a little different than that for the 5th and 7th, and for what the 6th has had previously. Okay, because here we are encouraging students to engage with a little more complex texts, move on to deeper comprehension and more structured writing. However, students have varying levels of language proficiency, so we have to keep that in mind. But we have to try to elevate that proficiency. The purpose of this bridge program is to strengthen their foundational language skills and prepare them for the demands of the grade 8 curriculum as much as possible with us. Now, if you come across the document, since it has been prepared by the NCERT, it has been structured for 6 weeks, but we are looking at as much as we can complete across 4 weeks, because that is what we have for the month of April. Before I move to the CGs of grade 8, briefly to understand what the 8th Standard Bridge course focuses on is first thing is reading skills. Okay, so what the students are expected to do is identify main ideas, locate information, interpret meaning from text, and basically focus on reading skills. The next skill that it's also focusing on is the writing skills. You will see there are multiple areas wherein children are being given opportunities to write and express themselves creatively, descriptively. Also, you will see a lot of space and importance given to vocabulary development, because by the 8th standard, students are expected, or at least to try to expand their vocabulary through contextual exercises, word activities. We will go through that. And finally, the skill of critical thinking. The activities that are there in the bridge course, you will see, are encouraging students to analyze situations. There are lots of wide questions to express their opinions and connect ideas. So the goal is not simply to revise earlier concepts, but to prepare students for the higher level learning in English, which is, coming their way in the 8th standard and in the consecutive years of their study in English. So before we move to the plans, if you could just glance on your screens. Sorry. we have the CGs. So the activities which you will find in your bridge course have been based on these CGs. So for the 8th standard, these are the basic CGs we are looking to fulfill by CGs words. So the first one is develops independent reading comprehension and summarizing skills by engaging with a variety of texts, that is stories, poems, extracted plays, essays, articles, news reports, and shows interest in reading books. Okay, so as you carry out your activities, you should have these competencies being achieved by your children. For example, your child should be able to apply varied comprehension strategies. That is to inference from things, to predict, to analyze, to summarize, to understand different texts. Also, the child should be able to identify main points, summarize after a careful reading of the text, and respond coherently. Your child should be able to identify and appreciate the main idea in various texts and show interest in choosing and reading a variety of books. So every time you engage in an activity that is based on reading and comprehension, you should have these competencies being by the children. If you look at the second curricular goal, children attain the ability to write about thoughts, feelings, experiences of social events, for example, village fairs, festivals, occasions, etc. As we go through the activities, you will see that unlike the 5th, 6th, and 7th, there is more importance in the 8th standard bridge course given to the expression of ideas, thoughts, and feelings through the language of English in writing. Okay, so here you will see that the child uses strategies such as sequencing ideas, identifying headings, subheadings, forming paragraphs with clear beginning and clear ending. In fact, one of the articles actually enables the child to understand what should be in his introduction, what should be in his main body, and what should be in the conclusion. So your child should be able to express experiences, emotions, and critiques on various aspects of their surroundings in writing. CG develops the capacity for effective communication using language skills for questioning, describing, analyzing, and responding. This means that the competency the child is achieved is the child is able to write different kinds of letters and essays using appropriate style and registers for different audiences and purposes. The fourth curricular goal explores different literary devices and forms of literature. So here the child should be able to identify and appreciate different forms of literature. For example, prose, poetry, drama, and in prose, whether it's descriptive, it's analytical. Also, the child should identify literary devices such as figures of speech like simile, metaphor, personification, hyperbole, alliteration, etc. And the last CG is, so I'm not able to see that last one. Just go ahead. The child develops the ability to recognize basic linguistic aspects, word and sentence structure, and uses them in oral and written expression. Here, the child should use appropriate grammar and structure in their writing. This is another thing that you will see is a little different from the 2 sessions we've had in our year past, the 5th and the 7th standard, because those bridge courses are still in the introductory phases of getting a child to warm up and getting a child to get used to expression in more orally in the language. Here, you're getting a more structural approach into place for the students. And then CG6 develops appreciation for the distinctive features of language, including its alphabet and script sounds, rhymes, pun, and other wordplays and games unique to the language. Here, the student understands phonetics and language, the number of vowels, consonants, and how they interact and are used. So again, there is a more structural aspect to the 8th standard curriculum. Engages in the use of pun, rhymes, alliteration, and other wordplay in the language to make speech and writing more interesting and enjoyable. The child also becomes familiar with some of the major word games in the language. For example, palindromes, we come across that, spoon-rhythms, sentences without given letters or sound, riddles, jokes, antakshari, anagrams, etc. Okay, so these are the major CGs that the text is overlooking while beginning the course. Speakers, are you able to hear me? Am I clearly audible? Maybe some.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. You're audible.
Okay. So now let's walk through the bridge course that we have before us. I'll scroll to the start of the document. Again, unlike the fifth standard and the seventh standard bridge course, in case you're teaching the three classes, you will see that the eighth standard bridge course is not divided week-wise. Yeah, it's not divided week-wise. It is a time frame hasn't been given to you, and it may not be a daily activity. So here they have dealt with three major texts. One which is already presented before you. This is a story that has been taken from the Pranazza. And there are a number of activities, there are a number of activities that are proceeding, wherein a child will be able to explore and engage in those curricular goals, therefore achieving those competencies that we just read through. All right. So the previous are separate activities which are achievable in maybe a class. But if you see the text itself of this first thing that is presented to you on your screen is quite lengthy. So if you want to have your children to effectively engage through this and engage in all of those remaining activities that are listed after this, you will have to maybe read it aloud once to them, and then maybe have them read it slowly to themselves. Because again, remember, we are focusing more on reading and writing in the eighth standard. The speaking and listening are being dealt with in detail in the fifth, sixth, seventh. So once they come here, they are expected to engage in more complex text. So I won't be going through the entire text because we will not have so much of time. But what I would prefer doing is just skimming some of the activities, and maybe we could work out one or two. So if you could scroll to the first activity after this. Yeah. So now at the end of the reading of the script, and this is just like a lot of our textbooks have been, where you're given a lesson and difficult words or other unknown vocabulary has been listed at the side. And this is important because one of the things listed to you, or as has been said before, is the importance of vocabulary building. This is exactly where it will happen. Every time children come across unfamiliar words, and those words are important and discussed in classes, that's when they will be receptive of these new words and add it to their existing vocabulary. So if you go through these, the first exercise, which is true or false, it is directly based on the understanding of the passage. So if your child has engaged in the passage and has gone through the passage, they will be able to. Okay, so the first activity state which of the following sentences are true. Now I won't work this out because obviously we haven't read the passage, but when you receive the bridge course, you are expected to go through the passage. Now, if you can choose a more creative way of dealing with the passage, because I remember once when I was given a class that was very disengaged, and they were not responding, and I needed to get them on board, and I wasn't able to. So the one thing I did, I remember, was I took one short lesson and I cut it into bits, and I divided them into groups, and I gave this cut bits. Each one had one packet of it. And I just distributed it. And I said, I want you to put the story in place. But each one is going to read chips that are with them. And you don't get to show your chip to anyone else. They have to only listen and get an idea of where it is. And you won't believe, all of a sudden, a very disengaged class was on board. Simply because I didn't make them read that entire lesson. I just cut. Of course, it was a little trouble for me. I had to go out of my way. For me, going out of my way for one class and then getting the entire class on board for the rest of my classes was totally worthwhile. So only you would know what is the best way to teach or to get them on board. Because once their mindset is set, then things will be different. For a lot of us, we are facing children who are completely, they're so into the phone era. They're used to immediate gratification. They're used to these reels which go not longer than 20, 30 seconds. And then they are brought to a classroom where they have to look at a static book. They have to look at that same teacher and they have to listen to that same voice. They get completely deglued. So how do we bring them back in so that we have a very effective bridge course is on each one of us. Okay, so maybe an activity like this, maybe, introducing some song, maybe bringing some different element, but while keeping in mind that the entire passage has to be read and understood because the forthcoming activities have to be done. So uh, and that is exactly why we have this additional time in April, at least for now, to get that. Okay. So if you look at question number 2, it says, what do you think will happen to the white elephant after he allows himself to be taken to the king? Now, I don't want to draw your attention contextually, again, because we haven't read the passage, but see the structure of the sentence. You are forcing or you are approaching the child with a very open platform, and you're telling the child to tell you what does he or she think about this. What do you think will happen to the white elephant? So maybe child number 1, 2, 3, 4 will have 4 different answers. And that is where you play a key role, wherein you facilitate those answers. You are encouraging them to express themselves. So whether it is verbally or whether it is in written form, you are getting them to think critically, you're getting them to analyze. You're not directly asking them, what happened to the elephant? What do you think, will happen to the white elephant after he allows himself to be taken to the king? So a lot of your mannerism in conduction is this, wherein you're displaying a very wide platform for the students to step on and express themselves and, receive appreciation or encouragement for whatever they are able to bring to the table. Because the caliber of one child will be different from the other. The caliber of the children from one school will be different from the other. All right. Uh, Again, the next question: how do you think the white elephant's blind mother would react when she realizes her son is missing? So again, you're leaving it open. But again, you're not just leaving it open and telling them that the job is. So in whatever way you plan your setting, make sure you get a tangible response out of the children. Because only when your child is able to answer these questions will you know if your reading session has been successful or not. Because the child has to be able to express whether it is right or wrong is not important, whether it is constructed in complete structural grammar and syntax is not important. But the fact that the child is able to shed light on what he or she thinks about the answer is what matters the most. Okay, if we scroll lower, okay, you continue with the reading, so you can see that it's not just a passage which can be, dealt with in a jiffy, wherein you just come and you just read it. Because of course, given the 3.5 hours that we have, I'm sure we will have lesser amount of time because in that way only all the subjects would get, some periods here and there. So you will not be able to deal with it in one class. Maybe you have to use more sessions, but do as you need, because that's the only way you can accomplish the final goal, okay, which is to get the child to express himself. If we scroll lower, sir. Okay, so here you have the lower. No. Teachers, am I audible? If at any point you feel I'm not audible, please feel free to either leave a message in the chat box or just unmute yourself and express. Thank you. Okay, so you can see that the story is still running and it gives you a lot of this room for vocabulary. Another one mean to encourage vocabulary building, it just came across my mind. This is something I do in my class. Suppose I am reading. I want my children to pay attention. As I'm reading, I I replace a word. I don't tell them. So I'm reading, I suddenly replace a word, and then I stop and ask them to tell me which word I replaced. For example, he entered the cave and was overjoyed to find that his mother was still alive. I'm reading this line from the fourth paragraph, second line, the first and second line. So sometimes what I do to make sure they are on par and they are with me, I would say he entered the cave and was really happy to find that his mother was still alive. And then I stop and I tell them, I say, I have replaced a word. Can you tell me which word it is? So if they are paying attention, they will tell you which word they have replaced. And in that way, they are coming across two new words. They learn overjoyed, and maybe if you use a different word like elated, they learn the word elated, which also means overjoyed. So here you're giving, again, important the building of new vocabulary. Okay, please scroll down. Okay, so finally, this brings us to the end of the passage. That is why I didn't read the entire passage, because we obviously won't have so much of time. Let us skim through some of the activities that have been listed to us. If you come down, sit down. Yeah, so now here there is something called cause and effect. Again, we might not be able to do it because we haven't gone through the passage, but just to understand the structure of the question. The blind mother realized her son was missing. What was the effect? What did she feel? What did she think after realizing her son was missing? So here you're focusing, or rather, coaxing the child to analyze, and you're also instigating the affective part of it. The sensitivity part of it. You're sensitizing children to feel. Because when you ask a question like, a blind mother realized her son was missing, what are the feelings that mother goes through? Or what would you go through if you are in that place? So again, bringing another point about NEP, we are looking at the holistic development of children. So when you say you want the child to do well in English, you're not just talking about the language in itself. You're talking about the holistic development of the language. So this is a cause and effect, a kind of a question. If we scroll lower, look at the other questions. Okay, here again, an extract was given, and questions based on that extract have been asked. Okay, they've also continued to ask questions on the passage that has run before. For example, what does the elephant's response to the traveler tell us about his nature? Again, you're not, although the question starts with a what, it is not only focusing on factual information. It is forcing the child to go past factual and think about the affective domain. Okay, was he kind and helpful? Was he truthful and honest? Was he gentle and strong? Was he gentle and loyal? So, which kind of adjectives would describe him the most? All right. And then likewise, you will have more questions. So I will scroll lower until we reach the next exercise. Okay, here. Again, you are given a small extract and you are questioned upon it, similar to the first one. So you will see that the 8th standard, like I said before, is going towards more structure. Okay, it is going towards encouraging children to express their ideas, not just vaguely, but in a more constructive manner. All right. Although you have an open platform for the child, but still the child is receiving some sort of a blueprint to work on. So he is not just in the open. The child knows in what context the question is being asked, so in what context he is expected to answer. Then you have complete the following sentence with a suitable reason. The elephant refused to eat because he perished. All right. So again, the child is forced to think. The child is forced to analyze in the shoes of the elephant. In fact, you'll see another activity that follows. You literally have the activity wherein each child is supposed to get into the shoes of each character. And then what does he think? What does he feel? So along with sensitizing the child, along with, coaxing the affect of it, you are enabling or rather coaxing the child to express what he feels and she feels. But we're doing a lot of it in writing as well. Why did the king go to the stable option? So these are questions basically based on the text. So once you go through the text with the children, you should be able to facilitate these activities in the class. A little worse. Okay, again, so another section, you can see that it was just one passage, but you have multiple questions, different kind of questioning styles that is being applied to that one passage. So the reading of that one passage has to be effective. If you want to bring in a different element, another thing that I also do in my classes, just to bring that element of newness, of novelty, is I've also recorded my voice only, same teacher, same voice, but played it in class. And then as they listen and read, I walk around so that I can make sure, whether they are, with me or not. So you could do that because the reading and understanding of that passage is so important. Because all these activities, all these questions are based on that. Okay, we move ahead. So now we come to some word pairs. For example, lake, waterfall. Chance for them to increase their vocabulary building. Because as I said at the beginning, reading skills, writing skills, development of vocabulary, critical thinking. These are 4 things that the Bridge Course of 8th Standard is overlooking. And we are trying to achieve or get our children to achieve these competencies. Okay? So here we understand the meaning of waterfall from a mountain or hill, sorry. Large area of water surrounded by land. Okay? Then again, sorrow and mourn. Again, vocabulary building. What is sorrow? What is mourning? What is the difference? Okay, sorrow is a feeling of sadness. Mourning is the expression of that sadness, the expression of that grief. Caretaker, what is the difference? And also, if you see this one story, which is in English, but it is engaging so many domains of life. You're talking, first of all, about the environment. You're talking about interpersonal relationships. You're talking about emotions. So you're sensitizing the child. A mean of science is coming in because you're talking about waterfalls, you're talking about lakes, you're talking about caretakers of the wild, of animals. So there is a lot of holistic and multidisciplinary learning that is happening, but in your English class. Okay, so frightened, terrified. Again, the meanings of this, it's just for you to understand, to enable the child to increase vocabulary, build vocabulary. Okay, if we scroll lower. Another activity, again, please. You fill in the blanks with the correct given word pairs. Okay, so the words that the child had come across in the previous activity. Now it's time for you to see if the child has understood the application of those words. So the little boy felt deep. So maybe we could just try this out also, reinforcement for me that you are on par. The little boy felt deep dash when his pet was ill, and he continued to dash for days, missing its cheerful chirping. So the little boy felt deep dash. Could someone just unmute and quickly give me the answer? What would the answer be? Someone with me?
It's sorrow.
Okay, felt deep sorrow when his pet was ill, and he continued to mourn for days. Yeah, okay, and likewise, you can go through the training sentences as well, just reinforcing that the child has understood what you've taught before. Okay, if you go to the next activity, it is based on homonyms. Now, homonym is a word that has the same spelling or pronunciation as another word, but has a different meaning. Okay, for example, spring. A spring could be a source of water, or to spring up, to jump suddenly. A trunk, it could be the nose of an elephant, it could be a large box or a chest for storage. So again, you are developing the vocabulary of a child. You're developing, or rather expanding, the context in which he can use his already existing vocabulary. So maybe he talks about a bear as an animal, but now he will also learn that you have to, along with being an animal, it also talks about endurance, to bear something, to endure some suffering or to endure some test. All right. So here you are adding to the existing vocabulary, but you are also sort of widening the horizon of application of his already existing vocabulary. Okay. Another thing that can happen is if you feel that you want to add to this and have more activities related to that, you can also do that. There aren't restrictions placed on us in terms of achieving the bridge course. All we are trying to do is give them some sort of a bridge, some sort of a blanket, so that they are more equipped when they come to the 8th standard and start their learning. Okay, we move ahead. You have words, cry aloud, phrases, cry aloud, shed tears, pine away. So come together and are said to collocate. Collocation is a way words combine in a language to produce natural sounding speech and writing. Certain words naturally go together, forming common expressions that make language more fluent and new. So already, although you have done just one comprehension passage, but you are introducing a lot of important grammar and sentence construction concepts. Okay, because these things are something that are going to be new for our children. I don't think these are things that they have come across. Homonyms may be in the 6th, 7th standard, but things like collocation are definitely going to be new for the children. All right, so school now. So here you have a chance to collocate to an exercise. So it is important to dash attention when the teacher is explaining new concepts. We need to dash a decision. So here you will be given a chance, or rather the children will be given a chance to express themselves. And for the teacher and the child to work together and, at least bring them to that level. If they are not already at that level, bring them to that level so that they are able to use it. Teachers, am I audible? Just confirming.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so moving ahead, the story uses adjectives like magnificent and noble. Okay, locate these sentences in the story and choose adjectives from the options for the sentences. One example has been done. Okay, so the elephant was a big creature. So if you had to do this, an enormous creature. Okay, let's look at the second one. The king had a nice palace. What is another synonym for nice that you can see there? Can someone just quickly tell me? Nice palace. What are the words that you can see already?
Luxurious.
Okay, had a
Pleasant.
No, but pleasant is not in the words given to you. Okay, so it should be one of the words. So I go with, luxurious palace. So right palace. Okay, you've been given words, the child has to pick another word. So then the child is learning new words, similar words, and contextualizing both the usage of these words. So if you could scroll down. And moving quickly because of time constraints. Here you have to create as many words as possible from the following words from the text. One example has been given to you. For example, surrounding. So the different words that you can create from this, like sound, round, sing, round, etc. Okay. Likewise, you would have to do for the others. This is one game that kids enjoy doing because they get a chance to break down into smaller words which they are more familiar with. It also forces children to really think. Because after a point, it is very difficult to construct smaller words from a given word. Okay? Moving ahead, read the following sentence. She had heard the noise made by the kinsmen and realized that they had taken her son away. So if you could scroll down. Here we're introducing the past perfect tense. Again, grammar topic is being introduced and you're going into more structured, facilitating and learning. So here you explain to them the use of the past perfect tense, the difference between simple past, continuous, progressive past, and the past perfect tense. What is the difference in the context of usage? All right. And then have an exercise to work through. Now, I will not go through the exercise. I'll scroll down. In case you have anything here and there, maybe if you have time, we can deal with it. When you receive the bridge course, you will have to go through each of these activities in order to decide what's best to do and how much is best to do. Fill in the blanks with the most appropriate options given here. Okay, so you have was walking, had walked, has been walking. Okay, so again, you have introduced a concept and exercises are just reinforcing the learning of that concept. One chilly morning, Renuka dashed along the forest trail, enjoying the clean air. Okay, so was walking along the forest trail and so on. You're going to go on. Scroll down. Moving further, we have highlighted words in the following sentences. Okay, so word used to, the white elephant used to live peacefully with his mother. Would is used to describe repeated action or situation that no longer can happen. Used to describes any action or situation that continued for a period of time in the past. So would is mostly used in formal context. Again, you're introducing a major grammatical, okay, of how words are used. Rajni used to play a lot of cricket, not would play. I used to swim regularly, not would. Okay, so in the same context, you are asked to find out more examples of this usage of would from the text. Now again, you can go back to the text that we read about the white elephant, which we didn't read, but which you would read. We are going back to that to try to get examples from that. And or let the children get. You don't have to get. You just have to encourage them, to guide them, and tell them that this is what needs to be done. And let them work in pairs, let them work in groups, so that it becomes more encouraging and entertaining for them to learn. Okay? Moving on to the next exercise, fill the blanks with suitable verbs given in the box. I think by the 8th standard, children are already introduced at least to the basic forms of verbs, right? So when we, again, now the verbs are given, the sentences are there. All they have to do is just read and pick the verb that is most suited and write it down. Okay, so if you want to like break monotony, you could do this in the form of a game. Okay, they have just given you the framework. How you execute it, it still depends on you. So, for example, you want to have a race between the 4 rows or between the 4 houses. You can present a sentence and the fast finger first sort of a thing. So whoever comes and gets the correct answer and puts it on the board, or whoever knows the correct can pick the correct word first, that person gets a point, or that house gets a point. These small things, although which seem mundane to us or unimportant to us rather, bring a lot of spark in their lives and then their learning. So if we can do something like that just to break monotony, we may do so. Highlighted trait in the following sentences from the text. It's you, isn't it? She saw. Okay, so question tags. Question tags is a concept that features also in the 5th standard, I think, the first time, and then is encouraged in the 6th standard. But that's also another concept here for the 8th standard. Okay, she can bring the decorations for the party, and she score about it. Kindly note, teachers, there will be a link to a Google form put in the chat box. Please make sure you start filling it and don't wait for the end, because once this meet closes, the chat disappears and gets deleted. So as soon as the link has been posted. Okay, the link has been posted, so please start filling that link. It's a link to a Google form. So that is an exercise on question tags. You can question tags and go through the exercise. Okay, now you will listen to a story about Tara and her grandmother. As you listen, answer the questions below with the exact 1 to 3 words you hear. Now here there is a transcript on page 36. If you scroll down, I'm not going to scroll down because they're here, but if you go to 36, there is a small passage. Okay, there is a transcript, so you can do it the way you want. You can read it aloud in class, or you can create a recording of your voice and use it. But here you are engaging or you are encouraging the children to listen carefully. Those of us who have dealt with 9th standard, 10th standard have already done it, because we have had to test their listening skill separately as a skill. Okay, so this is something I have also done. I used a simple song, a lyric, and I printed the lyric on a worksheet and I kept blank. So it tested their listening. They had to listen to the lyric first, the song, Then I played the song again. As they heard it, they had to fill in the gaps. So here they are listening to the story and they're answering the question. So getting them to answer is what is most important. Maximum engagement and participation is what is expected and most important for us. Okay. So after you listen to the transcript, you will be able to answer these questions in some appropriate manner. Okay. If we scroll lower, this is again discussing groups is to do with the listening activities. Here you are moving on. Let us speak. You're working in groups and taking turns to talk about any experience that taught you something important. Now here again, it gives you a lot of room and space to mold this question to suit your children. If you feel that you are in a place that calls for attention to a need that relates to the children, use it. So whatever you think would spark discussion, spark conversation, and expression of creative ideas constructively, feel free and replace it. Okay, you don't have to talk about an experience that taught you something, maybe an experience that brought joy to you, or some other experience, or something that you felt, when something catastrophic happened, or anything positive, the best moment of your life. If you have to recollect it, what would it be? So you can take this, make it your own, and use it in the context that you are teaching it, because only you know your children, only you know the backgrounds they come from. You know what they will be able to answer, what they would want to answer. All right, so you facilitate that in the classroom. So please scroll down. Okay. Here now, if you take the same one, those are the points. Concept, those are the points that matter. If you change the concept, you will have to construct some points. But what is important is to pay attention to what follows. Guidelines for your talk. Like I told you in the beginning, they are not only encouraging the 8th standards or the 8th standard aspirants, they are not only encouraging them to speak and write like they are, the 5th, 6th, 7th, they are encouraging them or coaxing them to do it in a very constructive manner. Okay, so here you're given the guideline. You're expected to have the introduction. So if you could scroll down, the introduction, the setting of the context, the description of the experience, the thoughts on the experience, and then under that also, what should the child speak to help the child formulate his thoughts. Okay, that is what you're looking at. So it has been, that is what I said. The blueprint has been given to the child, and the far and boundaries have. It's not like the child is just going and saying. That's in the initial stages. But now by the 8th standard, you are preparing children to give constructed answers. We know those who, all of you who have gone for both directions, when you reach that essay question, you know how mind-boggling it is, and how, it's so sad to see that sometimes they're unable to even have a basic flow. Now, we have a chance to change it, and we have a chance to change it now, in the beginning, not towards the end. So right when they are starting with their 8th standard, you are given a chance to help them construct. So do this. Make sure that the child is aware that you expect this flow of thoughts in their expression. So whether it's an oral thing or whether it's a written thing, you tell them that they are expected to do it. And examples of sentences are also given. I realized that. It taught me the value of, or I didn't expect. It was harder than I thought. So there are lots of aid that is available to enable the child to do well. Okay, if you scroll down. I'm going to scroll fast and go through it faster because of time. Here the child is encouraged to describe the picture in his own words. And then you have some more examples in writing, so scroll down. Okay, for example, you visited a fair. Again, you're given paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3. What is expected in paragraph 1, 2, and 3? This is very, very important because you're teaching them structure of writing. All right. And again, there is so much of it. There are sentences, or rather the phrases to begin the sentence and sentences are given to you. Hope this edifies you, or I would like to share my experience at the village fair. This was my first ever visit to the fair, and it was, etc. Okay. recollect the CGs, it was given there. The child should be able to write formal structured passages and write letters of various kinds. Okay, so as I told you, all the activities are conforming to those CGs and are getting competencies respectively achieved. Okay, if we scroll down. Okay, now let's come to, again, that is writing. So we come down. Let us explore. This is dumb charades, the previous page. Yes. Dumb charades, I think all of us are aware of. You act out, but like I was mentioning in the earlier time, you are acting out the characters in the story, the white elephant from your class. So the first passage that was read. So you give a chance to every child to be something and to act it out. Okay, you can have a lot of fun around it and get a lot of expression, verbal expression, get a lot of emotions and feelings, kick those in. You get ready to jump, wave, frown, grin, and act it out. Okay, so you're giving them room to just be themselves, and if they were that character, what they would feel to express that. Come down, sir. Working in groups of 4. These are again questions that would help you in the enactment. To enact scenes from the play after discussing these questions. So certain questions would help you construct your enactment. Okay, then write a short script together expressing each character's motives and emotions. Again, you're encouraging children to write down what they feel and express in that way. You can change the story, bring an alternative, practice your scene and bring it to life. That's with enthusiasm. Okay. The World Storytelling Day celebrated on March 20th celebrates the art of oral storytelling that uses diverse languages and in 2024, the theme was building bridges. Find out more about it and tell stories to your classmates in any language that you like. Again, a multilingual dynamic is coming into play. Okay, this is happening in the 5th standard bridge course as well. It's happening in the 7th standard bridge course as well. So when you're learning English, you're not learning it in solitude. You're not learning it in isolation. You're learning it in power with all the other domains and aspects of learning. Here, you're even bringing other languages in. Okay, so this is a one chance or one place to encourage them to speak in Hindi, Konkani, Marathi, Kannada, whatever they want, because this is their one opportunity to express a story in their own language. Okay, but this is the only place. After that, we have to only stress on them speaking in English. This is Cloud Play. Now, this is another text that has been given to you, and it will be followed by the activities as well. Okay, we scroll down. The given paragraph match the highlighted words with their meanings given in the box. Okay, so again, vocabulary building. So what I do is I just stress on what the activity is achieving, and in case it's complex, then we'll go through it. So here you're only enabling the child to match a synonym. Find a word from the box which is similar. We scroll down. So here you have a poem. It's quite a long poem though. But again, you're introducing children to more constructed form of writing. You're introducing them to more creative writing. All right, because they will eventually have to write couplets. They will have to write poems, attempt to write poems. Okay, so this is one example given to them. Come down, sir. Again, I'm not going through it. We'll just go through the activities. So here, the concept of a couplet has been introduced to them. A couplet is a pair of lines of poetry of equal one after the other. Okay, so the clouds move quickly across the sky, floating away as the song ends. So you have every night the clouds gather and float together in the sky. So these are examples, and then you can eventually encourage them to go through them. Come down, sir. Okay. Who do you think is a speaker? Again, these are questions based on the poems. I won't go through them. But there's a mention of quatrains as well. Quatrains is a poem made up of 4-line stanzas. So you can encourage them to write their own couplets or their own quatrains. They can just give it a shot, use rhyming words or the structure that they like and get it done. So scroll over. Teachers are going a bit fast simply because of time constraints. Now there's an introduction of figures of speech. There is a mild introduction in the 6th and the 7th standard, but in the 8th standard, I think it is a complete introduction of figures of speech and other devices like imagery. I don't want to go into what is what because all of us have been teaching figures of speech for all these years. But these are the most commonly featuring ones. And I think they all have to be aware of it because once they are aware, will they be able to use it? So after introducing the concept, you could read various quatrains that have, these figures of speech featuring in them, and then eventually encourage them to identify and write it. Come down, sir. Okay, if we scroll further, yeah, that is based on the. Okay, so now here you have some questions. Again, these questions are analyzing questions, are critical appreciation of the poetry, the one that was scrolled above. Okay, so these questions are based on that. And also here, I want to just draw a slight attention to the fact that, the writing, how writing is important, because the last question if you see is how does the exclamation mark at the end of the poem affect its impact? So you are not just, we are not just training children to go through something, just read it for the heck of it. Here you're talking about how the effect of an exclamation mark would have, not just on the writer, but on the reader as well. If the exclamation mark was not there, maybe the poem would have sounded differently towards the end. Okay, so you are going one step forward. Even we as teachers of the 8th standard English, I think we are going one step further with this curriculum when we go down to structure of language to such a minuscule level. Okay, so but these are questions based on the poem. Now they're open-ended questions. They're questions wherein children can just give their answer and express themselves. Down, it is a crossword puzzle. This is a puzzle using words from nature, words of nature from the poem itself and match with their actions. Okay, for example, it has already been done to you. The first word gotten there is waves. So eventually like this, the child will have to guess the other words of the crossword puzzle. Come down, sir. Okay, so here you have your clues given to you. And that is what will help the children reach those answers. Okay. Complete the following paragraph using suitable phrases from the crossword example clues. So you're not only just leaving them with the learning of those new concepts, again, you're reinforcing those concepts with another activity. All right. Now, another introduction of concept is there, binomials. Okay, what are binomials? Now, the phrase this way and that. Okay, in the line, they drift all directions, this way and that, as a word and a phrase paired in a fixed manner by using and. So when you have this and that, it is a binomial. Okay, so you're introducing another important concept. Scroll down, sir. Which is very, no, little higher. It's on the box there. Yes. Okay, so this is what you need to remember. What are binomials? They are pairs of words or phrases that are commonly used together and are connected with either and or. Come on, sir. Some examples, this or that, day and night, black and white, cool or warm. Okay, so this, sorry, after introduction of the binomials, you have an activity wherein they choose the correct binomial and fill it in. Okay, as I walk through the kitchen, I notice a plate of freshly cut add a little, okay, sweet or sour for flavor. Okay, so like that, you pick a binomial and you get it done. Scrolling to the next activity. Here, the one before, you will listen or talk about rain. Again, you are encouraging them to express. You're bringing in the element of nature, light rainfall or heavy rainfall or acid rainfall, and the effects of it. And again, bringing your attention to the transcript. There is a transcript for that. So whenever there are only 2 transcripts in your bridge course. The one is mentioned towards the end. Come down, sir. That is based on the transcript. Okay. Here your working in pairs. You're supposed to observe the 2 pictures of a rainy day and identify the similarities and differences between the 2 scenes. Okay. Share your findings with each other, add more observations to each other's list if needed, and take turns to use the given sentence prompts to express similarities or differences between the 2 pictures. Okay. For example, showed so and so, or both scenes depict so and so. Unlike picture 1, picture 2 has this. So again, we are equipping our children to give answers in structured manner while leaving room for open expression. They are expressing what they want, but we are giving them the right structure to put that expression in. Okay, once they get into a habit of answering in this manner, by the time they finish their 8th standard, reach the 9th standard, they will get used to writing their answers and giving answers in a structured manner. Okay, so that is related to that equity. Coming down, exchange your list and take turns again to begin expressing similarities and differences. Okay, come down, sir. Now we come to a formal letter. This is introduction of a letter. I won't delve more into it. The format has been given, and the body of the letter, what is expected in the body, which is the most important part of the letter, which gives out the message, has been explained in a detailed manner, very structured. Okay, so if you, when you get the bridge course, you can just go through it. So I won't deal with it. Scroll up, sir. Okay, palindrome, a new concept again given to us. Palindrome is basically a word that can be read on both sides and it still sound the same. For example, I, Malayalam, Reska, noon, level. Okay, so it is level this side, level the other side also. That's a palindrome. You can have some fun activities with that. Get them to recognize palindromes. Maybe also take them to the white elephant, see there are any palindromes there, you never know. Now coming to another concept, cloud seeding. It's a way to make rain happen. The element of science is coming in. Scientists use this technique to help create more rainfall by adding special substances into the clouds. Okay, so this is cloud seeding. You're introducing a new concept to them. Come down, sir. Okay, however, cloud seeding is not a permanent solution. Now another concept that's coming in terms of the structure of language is an acrostic. An acrostic is basically when you have something, I don't know if you have done this, but we normally do it for birthdays, when you want to write qualities of a person, adjectives of a person, you take the name of the person and you write one adjective. For example, my name is Ziva, so I take Z and write something. I take EL and write something. So as can be seen on the screen, it is
Fifth.
okay, and
So we have to confirm the dates.
No, this dates you will have to know. 5th June, sorry. Yeah.
kindly mute yourselves. So this is an acrostic, okay, wherein information is, you have the word and then you have information that goes across. You can give them to form their own acrostics, and I think forming one with your name, because each one of them are very happy to write something or the other about themselves to do with their name. So you take the entire spelling of your name and you find adjectives to write. Come down, sir. Okay, and this is the last text which is given to you. So scroll towards the end of the text. This is the last text that you have. I'm trying to wrap up as fast as possible, teachers. I know you want to go, I want to go too. So, but please bear with me for these last few minutes. Okay, yeah, that's it. If you go up, this is the last part. No, I didn't come down. Sorry, yeah. This is the last part of it. These are questions based on the exercise, on the passage that was given to you. Okay, what are the different things that Ranji exchanges? Do you think Ranji is an honest boy? Again, you're giving a lot of attention to open-ended questions. Okay, wherein they can express themselves. Now we come down to the 2 transcripts. If you remember, teachers, there were 2 transcripts mentioned. I said you will have to, the students have to listen and then answer. These are the 2 transcripts. So one is on page number 14 and the other is lower. Come down, sir. Come down. Okay, one is on cloud play. One was related to white elephant and one is related to cloud play. So this, how you want to deal with this transcript, again, depends on you. You can just read it in class or you can create a recording of your voice and get it done with that. Okay, so just scroll to make sure I don't do this. Yeah, so we had gone through the curricular goals in the beginning. So all these activities are based on these, and these are the competencies we are achieving. So finally, it's important for us to understand that we are facilitators in our class. Gone are the days when we stand and talk and they listen. Here we go to them and we be with them and encourage them from them. Okay, we are the helping hand, not just the speaking ones. Okay, I hope you have had, I hope this session has been helpful and it sheds light and enables you in some way or the other as you go through your bridge course in the forthcoming month. Thank you so much, teachers, for your patient listening, and all the best for the time to come.